Hey guys, and welcome to another Animal Crossing video. I'm Crossing Channel, and as you may know, many special characters from past Animal Crossing games are currently missing in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Some of these are really beloved characters which we've come to know throughout the years in many different games, and others are a bit more obscure and have been gone for a long time. I often get a lot of questions on this channel about these characters and what they did in past games, so I wanted to take a look at every single missing character in Animal Crossing New Horizons as of me making this video. So if you're excited for this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on channel notifications for more Animal Crossing videos. So starting us off, we have BLANCA. BLANCA was the event host for April Fool's Day in Animal Crossing New Leaf, an event which is currently missing from Animal Crossing New Horizons. BLANCA made an appearance in the very first Animal Crossing game on the train, and you could actually draw on BLANCA's face, which was pretty cool, especially for the time. It was kind of a very interesting mechanic that you didn't really see on many other games. So you could literally draw in BLANCA's face, you could draw on whatever you wanted, which of course led to many very strange and funny faces for this character. BLANCA is a very mysterious kind of character. There's not too much known about them, but I definitely miss them a lot. Do I think they're going to come back to Animal Crossing New Horizons? To be honest, I'm not entirely sure. April Fool's Day could easily be added next year though. It wouldn't be too difficult to add the event back. It basically involved BLANCA going around as an imposter, kind of disguising themselves as one of your villagers, and you'd have to guess which one was the real one. So I don't think that would be too difficult to implement into the game, but honestly, since BLANCA didn't come back this year, my hopes have definitely gone down for them returning. Next we have Moqk, and Moqk is one of a duo who ran the police station in past Animal Crossing games, notably the original Animal Crossing game and also Animal Crossing New Leaf. However, in Animal Crossing Wild World and City Folk, Moqk also acted as kind of like a guard for the town and would guard the town gate. The town gate was something you could use to go online with, and Moqk and his, I guess, partner Copper would kind of guard that area. Moqk is regarded as the sort of slower, more lazy version of the two pair, you know. So he's not quite as diligent as his partner, but he's still, you know, he's a lovable, lazy kind of chap. So that sums up Moqk. Next, we have one of the most iconic characters on this entire list. You all know him, even if you haven't played the previous games, you know who this is. We have to talk about Brewster. Brewster ran the coffee shop in previous Animal Crossing games. Originally, the coffee shop was in the museum basement, but later on in Animal Crossing New Leaf, he got his own coffee shop, which you could place anywhere in your town. Brewster is such a beloved character because of the roost, and because of the fact that you could befriend him. The more you talked with Brewster, the better your friendship would become with him. Think about Sable in Animal Crossing New Horizons and how when you talk to her, she'll open up more and more. That's basically what Brewster was like, and the more he would open up to you, the better coffee he would kind of give you. The Roost was a really chill place where you could meet other kinds of characters, and you could even act as a barista in the most recent Animal Crossing game The Roost appeared, New Leaf. So yeah, that's kind of a summary of why people love Brewster so much and The Roost. It's just a very iconic place. Next we have Chip, and Chip may look kind of familiar to you because I guess Chip must be related to our boy CJ in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Chip was the one who used to host the fishing tourneys in previous games. In pretty much every other game except maybe Wild World, Chip was the host for the fishing tournament events, and he was just kind of a cool guy. He loved fish, he loved to eat fish. He would eat fish in front of you, he was not ashamed of this, and of course he would give you many different fishing themed rewards. Of course he's very knowledgeable on fish as well, and he only wanted to see the best when he would appear for the tournaments. So that was basically the only time that you could actually see him in the game, but it was always a bit of a treat, you know, to get to see him. And of course he is one of kind of a duo that I'm going to talk about later in this video. Next we have Copper, who is of course the second in the duo of the police dogs. Copper was the more diligent and kind of responsible of the two, and like I mentioned, he would also work at the town gate alongside Moqk. So yeah, these two were kind of a pair in every Animal Crossing game, except Animal Crossing New Leaf, where you could really only see one or the other, so you kind of had to choose whether you wanted to see Copper or Moqk, which was a bit of a shame. So if these characters do return, hopefully it's as a duo once again. Next we have a very obscure character called Tortimer, who somehow is probably kind of a fan favourite for many people. Tortimer first appeared in Animal Crossing Wild World, which as you can imagine was an incredibly popular game, because it came out on the Nintendo DS, which was an incredibly well-selling system. Animal Crossing Wild World was quite a well-selling game, so Tortimer was actually an event host. Now Tortimer is basically the alter ego of another character you might have heard about called Tortimer. This was never directly confirmed, but I think it's fairly obvious that it's just Tortimer wearing some kind of acorn mask for the acorn event in that game. Now, something that not as many people will know is that Tortimer did actually make an appearance in Animal Crossing New Leaf. He would appear in the little puzzle game, sort of as one of the bosses that you could fight. So it wasn't exactly a major appearance, but it's nice to see cameos from him, and I could imagine us seeing more cameos from him in the future, so we'll have to see. Next we have Digby, and the really cool fact about Digby is actually Isabelle's brother, and he does get referenced in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Digby also might seem familiar because he works for the Happy Home Academy, which is still something in New Horizons, even though it's not as big of a deal. So he would kind of give you a tour of all the different homes. He also featured heavily in Happy Home Designer, Animal Crossing's first major spin-off game. So yeah, I do think Digby could actually make a return. I think we will see Digby in the future. I think he'll probably host some kind of event as he did in Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. So it would be nice to see Digby have a reunion with his sister Isabelle, because apparently the two are pretty close. I believe they're supposed to be twins, so it definitely makes sense to bring him back. He has a very strong resemblance to Isabelle, of course, and I know he's definitely a very popular character. He was actually only introduced in Animal Crossing New Leaf, so he's not been in the series for a super long time, yet he has always remained kind of popular since. Next we have Don RESETTI. Don RESETTI is a character who is technically in the game. He kind of appears as one of the helicopter pilots in the game. He'll be one of the people you can talk to on occasion. However, I'm still including him in this list because he doesn't make a physical appearance just like his brother. Don RESETTI would appear in for his brother sometimes to help encourage players not to reset their game without saving. So he was the nicer of the pair. Again, another duo, you're going to see a few of those in this video. Yeah, Don RESETTI was kind of the more nicer, chiller brother, and his other brother, I believe his younger brother, definitely wasn't as chill, and I'll be talking more about him later. Do I think Don RESETTI could make a full appearance in the game? I think it's possible at some point, especially since he is in the helicopter with his brother, so it would be nice to see him make some kind of full appearance. Next we have Dr. SHRUNK, and I believe Dr. SHRUNK is referenced in text in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Dr. SHRUNK would basically teach you the emotions and reactions that we have in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Instead of learning them through your villagers, you would learn them through him. In previous Animal Crossing games, you could actually only get a select few by watching his stand-up comedy shows. However, in Animal Crossing New Leaf, they expanded it so you could get a whole ton of reactions at once. You would actually do this by visiting Dr. SHRUNK's club, which is actually somewhere that KK Slider performed under the alias of DJ KK. So KK Slider and Dr. SHRUNK definitely have a kind of friendship, I guess. Those two are kind of connected through that. So that's an interesting thing. I actually do think he could return. There's definitely things that he could do, whether he just hosts an event or makes a little appearance. I do think Dr. SHRUNK could definitely make a comeback at some point. Let's hope so. Next, we have a very, very obscure character named FARLEY. And FARLEY only appeared in the original Animal Crossing game, so a very long time ago now. FARLEY was basically the spirit of the fountain, and he would appear when your town would become perfect pretty much. So it was very rare to get to see FARLEY. Not many players ever met him, and even fewer players, even know about him at all. But yeah, this is FARLEY. Do I think he will ever make a comeback to Animal Crossing? Definitely not. Could he be referenced in something? Maybe, but I don't think he's ever going to make a comeback again because, it was a very obscure character to begin with. He's not even really an animal. No one really knows what he is. I don't think he'll be making a comeback. Sorry, guys. Next, we have another incredibly obscure character named FRILLARD, and FRILLARD was basically the mentor of Dr. SHRUNK. He was Dr. SHRUNK's comedy mentor, so sometimes instead of seeing Dr. SHRUNK do stand-up, you could randomly see FRILLARD. FRILLARD, once again, is one of those characters I don't think will be ever making a comeback. Barely anyone knows who FRILLARD is. He might be the most underrated, unknown character on this entire list. though it's kind of hard to call him underrated because he doesn't really have much of a fleshed out character. He was more of like a little Easter egg that you could see from time to time, so don't be expecting to see FRILLARD again. Next we have GRACIE. GRACIE is one of those incredibly iconic characters in Animal Crossing who hopefully could make an appearance in the future. GRACIE is kind of referenced by LYLE. LYLE has a little sort of GRACIE kind of ribbon on her suitcase, I guess you call it, and GRACIE basically ran the high-end fashion store in previous Animal Crossing games. GRACIE would be the one who would sell you the really expensive high-end fashion and furniture items that cost tons and tons of money. These were basically endgame furniture and clothing items that you could get. Next we have Grams. Grams is a pretty forgettable character, sorry Grams. Grams is related to a few other characters on this list, notably Cap'n, who I'm sure some of you will know. And Grams basically would help you get certain rare items on the island. Do I think Grams will make a comeback? If Cap'n does, yes. If Cap'n doesn't, no way. And even then, even if Cap'n returns, I don't know about Grams. I think she was kind of more of a character designed for New Leaf, not designed to be brought into future games, kind of like some other characters on this list that I'll be talking about. Next we have Harriet. Harriet would basically run the hair salon in previous Animal Crossing games called Shampoodle. That was the only place where you could go and get your hair changed. You couldn't look in a mirror and get it changed at will, you'd have to go to the hair salon and get it changed. Do I think she's coming back? Maybe as an event host, maybe in some kind of appearance, like if the Roost returned, maybe you could see her there or something. Aside from that, no, because her purpose has been fulfilled in this game, even though I feel like a lot of people would prefer to go to Shampoodle to get their hair done. Next we have Joan, and Joan is of course referenced in the game. You'll know Joan as the grandmother, I should say, of Daisy Mae. Joan was originally the one who sold turnips. And fun fact about Joan, Joan was the first Animal Crossing character players would have ever seen, even before Rover, another very iconic character on this list, because Joan was actually on the train in the original Animal Crossing game, so they were technically the very first person, or animal I guess, that you would have ever seen. So yeah, Joan used to sell the turnips, but because her knees aren't as good anymore, you know, she's quite old, she's been doing it for a really long time, her granddaughter Daisy Mae has stepped in, but Daisy Mae actually did mention that her grandmother might come and visit the island when her knees are feeling better, so I do think we actually could see Joan in the future. Next we have an incredibly obscure and kind of forgotten character named KAITLIN. KAITLIN is the mum of Katie, a character we'll be introduced to very soon in this video, and basically KAITLIN would ask you to help find her lost daughter, a kitten who went traveling way too much, and her mum would get worried sick about her, and eventually when you'd find her, KAITLIN would give you kind of a reward for doing so. So yeah, an incredibly forgotten character. I don't think most people really care if this character comes back or not. Sorry KAITLIN. Do I think KAITLIN will ever come back? Honestly, no. No way. It's not going to happen. Next, we have an iconic character that I talked about earlier in this video in relation to Grams. This is Cap'n, a character who has appeared since the very start basically, and would ferry you from your town to the island, whatever island that was. It used to be like a tropical kind of island where you could go and get a bunch of summer bugs and fish, and you could get certain resources from the island like coconuts. So yeah, Cap'n was a captain and would, you know, ferry you across the ocean. Do I think Cap'n will return? Definitely. Cap'n will return in some regard, even if Tortimer Island doesn't return, which is something I'll mention later in this video. I definitely think Cap'n will make a comeback because Cap'n is such an iconic character who definitely could fill in some kind of role in the game. Next we have Katie. Like I mentioned with KAITLIN, Katie is a kitten who often gets lost because she goes exploring different towns. Players online would kind of have to ferry her from one town to another. You know, she would kind of bounce around from town to town and you could bring her back to her mom. In previous Animal Crossing New Leaf, I should say, she would actually be more independent and kind of go about on her own. Her mom didn't appear in Animal Crossing New Leaf. So at that point, Katie basically traveled on her own and, you know, could make her own way in the world. Next we have Katrina. Katrina is a character who technically does make some kind of appearance in Animal Crossing New Horizons because she does appear in the game's app. However, that's not really a proper appearance because Katrina only appears as a kind of little message within an app. That's not a proper appearance in the game, sadly. Katrina is a very well-known character who would tell your fortune in previous Animal Crossing games and even had her own fortune-telling shop at one point. Always very mysterious, Katrina is definitely a fan favorite, and I do think that since she has appeared in the app very recently, she could return to the game at some point. However, on the other side, seeing her in the app kind of made me feel like they had turned her into some of the other characters where they had taken away her functionality. Luck, the luck feature which was tied to her fortune telling, isn't a thing in New Horizons yet, so unless that returns, I don't think Katrina will either. Next we have LYLE, who is the daughter of Cap'n, the granddaughter of Grams. LYLE would basically kind of buy your seashells for you, I believe, on the island. She didn't really do too much, pretty forgettable character. Do I think she'll return? Again, that depends on Cap'n, but I wouldn't count on it. Next we have LEILANI, which is Cap'n's wife and the mum of LYLE. She would basically host the tours on the Tortimer Island, a place you could go to play mini games online. She was actually a bit more useful than the Grams and LYLE. She would actually kind of, help you get started up with the tours. Do I think she could return? Once again, I'm saying it again, it really depends on whether Cap'n does. If he does, then certainly it's possible for her to return. It'd be kind of cool if she returned in the wedding event alongside Cap'n. Maybe they had their own photo shoot instead of Reese and Cyrus. I think that'd be a neat idea. Next we have LYLE. LYLE is a character who actually has a lot of history. The first time LYLE appeared was in Animal Crossing Wild World, and he was kind of a downbeat insurance salesman. He was kind of like a suspicious character who was trying to sell you insurance. Most people tried to avoid him, but he was very pressuring. In Animal Crossing City Folk, however, he started to own the Happy Room Academy, which eventually grew into the Happy Home Academy, and thanks to his success, he's become a much more reputable businessman. He's known for talking in his very snappy, kind of quick way, and he's got some very iconic lines in the series that I highly recommend you looking up. LYLE is definitely quite a character, and he worked alongside Tom Nook quite recently in the previous Animal Crossing game and in Happy Home Designer, so LYLE has definitely become a fan favorite character. Do I think he could return? Definitely. I think if Digby returns, we'll see LYLE as well. But it would be great to see a spin-off for Happy Home Designer, maybe Happy Home Designer 2, a sequel I should say, not a spin-off because that's already what Happy Home Designer is. But yeah, maybe if we do see another Happy Home Designer game, we definitely would see LYLE. I know that's not in New Horizons, but I guess the possibility is there. Next we have Nat, and Nat is another character who is referenced in Animal Crossing New Horizons. He appears as a little picture in the museum, which is kind of cool, but again, not really like a proper appearance. Nat was the one who would host the bug tournaments in previous Animal Crossing games. Nat would give you the Bug King rewards, and he had an appetite for the bugs. He was nothing like Flick. He didn't treasure them or respect them. He would just gobble them down whole. He was so ready to eat the bugs. He would literally devour them, no two ways about it. Next we have PELLY. PELLY is a character who used to be a worker for the post office during the daytime in previous Animal Crossing games since the very start. PELLY is the one who would kind of take your mail during the daytime. PELLY also loves a character named Pete, which we're just about to meet, and she's kind of a part of a love triangle. Do I think she and the next two characters could return as a part of the post office? Possibly. The post office is actually referenced in Animal Crossing New Horizons, so hopefully we will see the post office make a comeback, because having it as a little kiosk in the sort of airport, that's really strange to me. Why they took away the post office, I don't know. It'd be great to see them come back and, maybe we could learn more about their love triangle and see how that's actually worked out. Next we have Pete. And Pete is the person who would actually go around delivering your mail. You could see him wandering around and even flying at times because of course he's a pelican. He would kind of carry the mail in his beak. Now, even though PELLY loves Pete, Pete is completely oblivious to that, and Pete loves the next character we're about to meet called, it's not PHINEAS. Pete doesn't love PHINEAS. I forgot that alphabetically this doesn't line up. Okay, now that I've composed myself, we have PHINEAS. PHINEAS is a character who would help give you badges in the previous Animal Crossing game. When you got different achievements, these badges would appear on your profile, so it was always a treat to see Phineas. In Animal Crossing City Folk, Phineas would actually be the one to give you the fancy balloons and accessories that you could carry around. Now let's continue with that love triangle I was talking about. This is Phyllis, the one that Pete is in love with. Phyllis was kind of a very mean character who would, you know, they were the type of worker who didn't really want to see you, basically. They didn't want to run into you. Phyllis was the one who worked the night shift, because obviously Pelly can't work all night. I guess she's not Tom Nook or Isabel, who do seem to never sleep. Do I think these three could return? Well, like I mentioned, I do think it's possible. I especially would love to see Phyllis, because Phyllis has one of the best kind of personalities in the game, in my opinion. Next we have Porter, and Porter was the one who would conduct the trains in previous Animal Crossing games, specifically the original game and also Animal Crossing New Leaf. So Porter probably won't be making a comeback unless the trains return. There's obviously no trains in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I don't think that's ever going to be a thing, so Porter probably won't be making a comeback, sadly. Next we have RESETTI, who I mentioned earlier alongside Don RESETTI. He does technically appear as the helicopter pilot, but he doesn't make a physical appearance. RESETTI was a very angry mole who would lecture you about resetting the game, ordering that you don't do it basically. RESETTI had some of the best dialogue in the game, however it seems like a lot of parents actually complained to Nintendo about how aggressive RESETTI was, so they kind of toned him down in each game, and he got less and less of an appearance. Which is definitely a shame, because I think RESETTI had a good message and he's a very iconic character, so he's definitely sorely missed. This is Serena, the fountain spirit in Animal Crossing City Folk. If you threw axes into a fountain, she would appear and sometimes either talk with you nicely or get super furious that you threw something at her. She was basically the way of getting the golden axe in that game. She didn't really make much of an appearance and she's never appeared since, but that was basically her role in Animal Crossing City Folk. Do I think she'll ever return? Honestly, not gonna happen. Next we have the Snow family. And you might recognize the snowman or snowboy in Animal Crossing New Horizons. He does technically appear, but the rest of his family don't. The snow mom, the snow dad, and the snow tyke. They would all have different mini games for you to play, and they would help you get all of the different ice and snow themed items. Honestly, I really like building the different family members, and I'm really sad they didn't bring them back in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Do I think they could return? Definitely. If there's some kind of winter update later this year or next year, I think these guys could make a comeback, and it'd be nice to see the whole family. Next we have Tortimer, who is one of the most iconic Animal Crossing characters on this entire list. Tortimer used to be the mayor in previous Animal Crossing games, until you unseated him in Animal Crossing New Leaf, where he retired to Tortimer Island, a beautiful tropical island where you could go and play mini games. This was a place where Tortimer kind of would host the mini games and just kind of chill out. Tortimer is a much loved character since he's appeared since the very start. Do I think he'll make a comeback? I actually do. I do think Tortimer will make some kind of comeback. I know a lot of people make jokes about him being dead, but come on guys, be nice to Tortimer, he's not dead yet. Finally, we have a character named Wendell. Wendell was a character who would help you get custom designs within Dreams in previous Animal Crossing games. You can guess why he was removed. He was turned into a kiosk in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Why? I genuinely don't know. The Dream feature could have easily included him, but Nintendo was like, yo, let's add a kiosk. I don't know why. I don't know if they have some greater plan for removed characters like him who now no longer have a purpose. I don't know if they think we prefer a kiosk to actual characters. Maybe they do. Obviously we don't. I miss Wendell. Wendell was a funny character who has had a long history with kind of patterns and custom designs. You used to be able to feed him stuff for him to give you certain custom designs. So we miss this sleepy boy, the walrus that he is with his massive tusks. He may look scary, but trust me, he's very docile. So that is every missing character in Animal Crossing New Horizons. As you can see, there are a lot of them, and they had many different roles and a varied history in previous Animal Crossing games. All of these characters are sorely missed, and I do hope that they'll all make a comeback at some point in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Which of these characters is you guys' favourite? Definitely leave a comment down below to let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and be sure to comment Bob's Gang down below if you watched all the way until the end. If you want to help support me and my channel, click the join button down below the video or the link in the description to become a channel member and a member of the Bob's Gang. You can get a whole bunch of really cool perks for doing so, such as exclusive emojis, a badge by your name, exclusive content and posts, and so much more, so be sure to check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, show support, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on channel notifications for more Animal Crossing videos. You can check out my links and my merch in the description, and 2 Animal Crossing videos on the right side of the screen. Thank you once again for watching.